Hi, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I am recording this on March the 26th, 2017. And um, this is another audio tape of my autistic son. He'll be 24 years old next month in April, and his name is Marquis. He has high functioning autism, and I am his mother, and I'm very proud of my son, especially with all the things that he's had to endure. He was not taken away from me. He was actually living in a apartment. He was an adult, and because of the staff didn't know how to work with him, and because I did an interview with one of the local news stations, and I was trying to get him out of that um, apartment in that neighborhood because I thought it was too noisy and hostile, and they just wouldn't find another place for him. And it was just a terrible place, and he actually ended up, running out of the apartment, and they called the police, and then Franklin County Board of DD went ahead and got him, and I'm going to say illegally, committed to a state of Ohio ICF MR facility. And the reason why I say illegally, because you're supposed to be moderately retarded to be involuntarily committed to an ICF MR facility here in Ohio. And Marquis is not moderately retarded. He is high functioning autism. That's what he has. He's autistic. He is not mentally retarded. They went ahead and illegally committed him anyway. And to the same facility that he was abused in before, and that's what these audio tapes, I was thinking about maybe starting to post audio tapes from the last time that my son was allowed to call me, going back, because these audio tapes started in January 2012. We are right now in February 2012, and these tapes go all the way up to the last time that my son has been allowed to call me, which has been over 3 months ago. So I don't know where he's at. I haven't received any kind of word about where he's at or how he's doing. He is verbal. He's high functioning, so they know he would be telling me what's going on if he was able to call me. And because of my advocacy for my son, I speak up when he's abused, when he's neglected, and because of my race, they have, and because I'm also exposing them. I got 3 Facebook pages. So there's 3 pages on Facebook that I'm running that shows that I'm not just full of hot air. There's a Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley page. There's Abuse and Neglect of Autistic Marquis Tanksley by the Government page. And then this page that I just created probably back in November of 2016 will show audio tapes, or you'll be able to hear audio tapes of my son. And I don't play the whole conversations, but it's called the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. So in Marquis's own words, you'll be able to hear him tell me as his mother the things that he was going through, the things, how they were making him suffer as being in a facility with staff that would beat him, abuse him, throw him down. He had to endure an environment that constantly triggered him, putting in sensory overload, and repeatedly over and over again, whether on the telephone or face to face, I would have to hear my son tell me this. And then, as a mother, that loves her child, I mean, you want to try to resolve that situation. But I guess they thought I was supposed to just keep my mouth shut and hang my head down and not say anything. But this is repeated things that Marquis had to endure. And then even the physiological and the human needs, because on this particular audio tape, and like I said, I'm just actually posting, the snippets, because there's times I would come in there and I would have to de-escalate Marquis, which is what I had to do towards the end. And I didn't play the whole thing, because sometimes it take me 30 minutes, take me 40 minutes to de-escalate my son. He had to get it out, so he would vent, and he would be very loud while he's venting, because at the end of this particular audio tape, and this was recorded on February the 18th, 2012, and when he told me he was hungry, that was on the phone, which can also, make something. I encourage him to go and eat breakfast, because that was during the morning when he said he was hungry. So I said, make sure you go and get you something to eat. But sometimes he would tell me that he was hungry later on in the evening when I would come and visit him, because they didn't care to fix him something. It's like, well, he's got to eat what we fix. And autistic people, they got very, very um, fine sensory. Um, I want to say their sensory integration is very fine, and there's a lot of things that they can't tolerate, and it will trigger a meltdown. And my son, not only as far as food is concerned, about the different tastes, but they also sometimes can have problems with texture. So it was very important that they fix him food that he would be willing to eat. So, but nobody over there knew anything about autism. And I think half of it was because they were an MR facility, and then the other half was their staff. And on this particular tape, which I didn't play, I had a conversation with Rob Capardi, who was the program director over there at the time. And he got a lot of education that evening. But I couldn't talk to him as long as I wanted to, because I had to go back in there with my son, because he knew that I was there visiting. I had actually visited with him, and then Rob Capardi had came on that unit, and I had to tell him, about his staff abusing my son, the red marks, how they resented me asking them anything about Marquis, and how they didn't have the personalities. That's because it takes skills to work with autistic people. You got to have a personality. You can't be impatient. You got to have a knowledge base about what autism is. And I said, I just didn't see it. And I said, they get upset when I ask them questions. I know they can't handle him when he's having triggers and meltdowns. I said, but this is because of the environment he's in, and you'll hear him on this particular audio tape. And it took me about 30 minutes to calm him down. Like I said, at the end, where they were playing music, and it just triggered him. He was just going like, oh, I can't stand this. I can't stand this. And after they had involuntarily commit him, 2 times they tried to get him, because remember, I was supposed to escalate him. See, that was their little sick fantasy to say that I escalated my son. And on the contrary, you hear Marquis, as he has told me hundreds of times, I love you. I love you, Mom. You'll hear him say, I need to come home. But getting back to my point, they always said I escalate him and everything. But you will hear him get escalated by hearing some music. But 2 times I can recall where they try to set Marquis up to actually have a meltdown while I was there. And one time it was because of music again. And they knew that I was coming over to visit him, because I had to schedule it. And they knew where we were visiting. And don't you know they planted a boom box out there right outside that door? We actually had to go through the coffee shop to get to the inner room. And right between the coffee shop and inner room, guess what it was? It was a boom box playing music. And when, you know, me and Marquis went in there to visit, he was already triggered and about ready to have a meltdown. So I walked out there and told him, I said, you need to turn this down. He cannot tolerate that. And we're supposed to be having a visit. I said, why is this music playing? So the dirty trick didn't work. But it took me a good 20 minutes. Well, no, it took me 10 minutes. I calmed him down. I held his hand. I said, everything gonna be all right and stuff. But I knew that was a dirty trick. I said, these people are just low life human garbage. Then second time they tried to do it, believe it or not, and both of these incidences are, that's why you got to tape, are on audio tape. The second time they tried to do it that I remember is by setting a fire drill alarm. They actually set it off. And guess where it was? Right in the same building, which was the administration building, where me and my son was visiting. And they announced it. Fire drill for administration building. Again, they knew we were visiting. They knew that we were in that visiting room. And of course, that's what made him run out of the because they had him in a building by himself, and they only had him in there for probably, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months. He was in a building all by himself, and a fire drill went off. And at that time, it was over all the buildings. It was in every building that they had on the grounds. And Marquis was in there by himself, because if they would have been in there, he would have never got out of that building naked and across the street. And for him to get across that street, and I'm talking about a residential street, a busy residential street with busy traffic, there couldn't have been nobody there. But and that's on tape, and how I really found out the truth. And I had, when Rod Capati lied to me about it, because I went over there to see him. They said I couldn't see him, that he had eloped. But he had eloped because there was nobody in the building, and the idiots had set off a fire drill and forgot all about my son, and it was just scaring the life out of him. So he ran out the door to try to get away from the noise and stuff. But anyway, when they had set it off when we were visiting, they were hoping that Marquis would, because when they get triggered by something, especially like auditory or a lot of loud noise and stuff, it could just throw them into a meltdown because their nervous system can't take it. And so that dirty trick failed because Marquis didn't trigger. Because see, they would love to say, well, he did this while his mother was there, so mama caused it. But because of his love for me and my love for him, and because of Jesus, I was able to comfort my son. And it kind of rained for a good minute or so. And I was right there with him. I said, that's just fire drill. It's going to be okay, and everything else. But, so these some dirty people got it on tape. That's why I said, still ain't got no slander letter. Not going to get none for nobody. Because I'm telling the truth, and they know how I do it. I got 3 pages of evidence on these people. And because ain't nothing just, it's not pages just full of me complaining or bitching and just writing posts. It's actually got photographs, it's got documents, it's got audio tapes, it's got videotape on there. That's the way I do it. Because I don't have to sit around, make up sick things on sick, evil, corrupt, dirty, wicked people. It's not necessary. So on this audio tape, he tells me that he's hungry, but that was on the phone. Then later on, when I came to visit him, he was telling me, because he said he was hungry, and then, and I said, make sure you get you something to eat. And, he told me that he loved me. I said, I love you, and I'll be over there later on. I love you. He said, I love you too. So there's a lot of times when my son hangs up, because they say, oh, well, I'm blamed for his uh, meltdowns if I'm on the phone with him, if I'm there face to face, and even when I'm not there, you know. And I said, there's a lot of times when my son hangs up, he is calm, he's hopeful, and with the later audio tapes, like, when you able to hear them better, starting in February 2013, I start recording on my smartphones. You'll be able to hear them clearer. And my son has told me hundreds of times that he loves me. And when he hangs up, he's feeling better. And he has even told me, I feel better. I said, so if he's, because they said, well, after he talks to her on the phone or after a visit or when he sees his mother, because they hate me so much that he gets escalated. I said, but that's mighty funny when he tells me goodbye, he's just as calm and that he loves me because he's feeling hopeful, he's feeling better, he's able to actually, feel his love from his mother. And I said, so if he's doing that after I finish talking to him, I said, yeah, I think you better look around at your environment and your staff because we know it's abusive. Because see, that's what's so sick about these people. And like I told Capardi, I said, don't sit up here and pretend with me and try to tell me that these places ain't abusive. Don't. Y'all hire anybody. All y'all want is a body in here. I said, dude, that they can't even, you know, uh, they don't even know that they need to be respectful to a family member that has a right to come in there and ask about their loved one. I said, they don't even know how to be halfway civil to me. I know they don't know how to deal with a resident that's having a meltdown that they trigger. But he, had a hard time with the music. But that's what I'm saying. You got a resident. You done admitted a resident that's autistic in this facility. You need to have plans that will not abuse. I said, that's emotional abuse. That's to have music playing and a resident that can't stand music or put them in sensory overload. That's abusing them, and it's also neglect. And that's what my son had to live through day in and day out. And I said, I'm gonna let people hear it. I said, because ain't none of that trash. Aaron Sanford, that witch, and the rest of that trash. Robert Montgomery, Consumer Support Services, Franklin County Board of DD, Ohio Department of DD, Mike DeWine, just go down the line. John Kasich, you're not going to be you don't represent my son, and you're not going to try to speak for my son and try to pretend everything's honky-dory, because it's not. And I said, I vow I'm going to put this stuff out here, and it ain't going no place. The pages are not going any place, and really, it's not all the stuff that I have, but it's enough. And I said, ain't nobody going to say that I'm lying about them or lying about the situation. I said, because my son is verbal. He can speak for himself. And he vented to me. And then I said, well, who else is he going to talk to? He has a right to vent and verbalize his feelings to his mother. But if you idiots didn't treat him like an animal and disregard his needs as a human, as a person with a disability, with a specific disability or autism, maybe he wouldn't be telling me all of that stuff. And I said, then I'm a victim in this. I'm pretty pissed off as a mother that I have to come in there because I love my son just as much as y'all love y'all's kids or whatever you got in your life. And I have to come over there and see my son, or him telling me about it or seeing it, seeing him abused in all kind of different forms and neglected in all kind of different forms. I said, no, I'm going to put it out there. I said, so for all the ones that, did she explain? I said, my son loves me. And he's told me 100 times that he has loved me. And then he also says, he misses me a lot, And I think on this tape he says that to me too. Which is, again, family and emotional being distraught and stuff. Because like, Mom, please take me out of here. They're treating me like an animal. They're hitting me and beating me and abusing me when they throw me down to the floor, which is not a restraint. Because even Danny, that white MR guy, told me, he said, Bobby threw him to the floor. And Marquis said they dragged him, hit him in his head and everything. And then they let other residents abuse him too. Verbally abusing, physically abusing. I could write a book. I got a story to tell. And I said, it's gonna be told. And that's why I throw that racism in there. I said, because that's the reason why I'm told that I escalate my son. I said, my son, he has to get it out. And I tell him, yeah, let's get it out. Let's go ahead and you can tell mommy about it. And, he would be so upset, the pain. He would be so hurt and distraught. And I said, he's autistic. You think he's going to say that in a very mellow voice when he's telling me how these people are abusing him and hitting him? No, a lot of times he was yelling. A lot of times, you know, he was, trying to make me feel his pain. Because he would ask me, Mom, how do I feel? How do I feel? And then you'll also hear him say something that I used to, like I said, on this tape, you'll hear him say he's hungry, which a lot of times I heard that repeatedly throughout the years. Excuse me, you would hear him say he loved me. And then he would say, I suck. Because he's going like, I must be a criminal. I must be the worst human being on this planet for these people to treat me like that. I said, no, you don't suck. No, you don't suck. And I told him, I said, you're a wonderful young man. I'm proud to be. I told him, I said, you're handsome, you're talented, you're athletic. I said, you don't suck. But he would say that. And on this tape, I had actually was talking to Rod Capardi and had went back in there because I knew my son was missing me. And you'll hear Rod Capardi, because Marquis wanted him to leave before he got to venting to me and talking to me. And you'll hear Capardi say, oh, I'm getting ready to leave now. But he was telling me I suck. I said, no. And that used to break my heart so much. I said, they got him thinking, because the way he's being treated so bad by these wicked human garbage, human scum, that he would think that he was a criminal or something. He just thought that he had done something so terrible for him to have to be in a place like that and treated like that. And, I will always do, every time I hear my son say that, I would let him know, no, you don't suck. And he hasn't said it in a while. Of course, they haven't let me or allowed him to call me since, like I said, it's been over 3 months. The last time he called me, or actually allowed to call me, was December 10th, 2016. But he used to still say that, and I would tell him. Well, he hasn't said it in probably about 2 years. But as he kept on saying it, I would tell him, I said, no. I said, because it ain't you, it's the people that we have in our lives. It's the people that is around you. That's who sucks. That's who's in bad shape. I said, plus, just because somebody treats you mean and isn't nice to you doesn't mean you deserve it. And I said, Jesus, he went to the cross for our sins. He didn't get treated like that because he actually deserved it. And so he kind of was getting the understanding of that. I said, because you don't suck. Just like people think I've done something. I said, just because they took my guardianship away doesn't mean that it should have been taken away. It was taken away because they know I'm exposing them and they don't like my advocacy for my son, and it's a racial thing. It doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. Because you got to look at the people and then you'll get your answer. If you wonder whether somebody actually need to have something done like that to them, look at the people that's doing it. And I said, but these people, are very, very wicked. They're very corrupt. That's why I don't, but nobody really says that to me and stuff. A couple of times people tried to do when I first put it on there, and I had to educate them and ban them. I said, just because somebody take your guardianship away doesn't mean that it's right. Just because somebody's treated, I said, you think my son, the way he's been treated, He's innocent, got disability, got autism. You think he deserves to be treated like that? He ain't done nothing to them people. And I haven't really, because the way I feel about it needs to be reported. I said, because there's too much of it being swept under the rug. And I said, I believe the Lord is using me as reporting this thing. Now, He'll take care of the rest, because that's when we step back and let God handle these situations where you got an army full of corrupt people in a sick, shameful, wicked system, corrupt system, and only God can put that down. And He has done it. He has put nations down, governments down. He has put individuals down, kings, and people wonder why this Obamacare thing didn't get repealed. But the book of Proverbs says it. Man can make all the plans they want, but it's God's will that will be done. And I think God kind of tripped them up with the repeal of Obamacare because of their intentions weren't right. They just hated that this black president was able to make a signature law like that. And then it's like, oh, well, we're all powerful, so this thing gonna be repealed in what? The first day, the first 30 days, 60 days, and stuff like that. And God will show you He's in charge. He'll trip you up. And He tripped that up. So you can make plans and think you all big, bad, and especially these people that are corrupt, politicians and stuff, because they're so used to doing a lot of corrupt stuff. That's their culture. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever. But, when God steps in and say, and He don't give the permission to get it done, He'll trip it up. And when you're so evil and you're so hypocritical, because they did, they were saying, as soon as we get a Republican president in there, we're going to stop this thing and stuff, but God tripped it up. Because He's supposed to be the most powerful, human beings on the planet. So anyway, excuse me, got a little bit of kind of like a little bit of a cold, not too much. On this audio tape, you will hear him tell me that he was hungry. Just, not a real long, because every time he would tell me stuff, I would have to explain things to him, comfort him, encourage him. And he has told me that many times. So you'll hear many, but that'll be repeated over and over in the audio tapes. He tells me he loves me. He tells me that, he's tired of missing me. He wants to come home. And then when he told me he sucked, and then he was telling me, about the music. And they would keep that. Like I said, this stuff was ongoing. This is not just one time on February the 18th, 2012, on this one particular audio tape. He was constantly subjected to sensory overload. I mean, they didn't care. They just completely ignore his needs. And that's why he's saying that. And of course, like I said, the first thing you'll hear, he just told me, I'm hungry, man. And that was over the phone. And then the rest was when I went to visit him that same day in the evening. And, I would hear stuff. I'm going like, don't they know about autism? That this would trigger an autistic person? Nobody cared. And I wasn't supposed to say nothing about it. So I became the mother from hell, because I would go to administration about what Marquis would tell me, things I would find on his body, signs of abuse and neglect, and him being beaten and stuff. And then I would tell him about things that he would tell me and stuff, and they resent that. So first thing, we gonna get her guardianship. We got to get her guardianship away. We don't want to be talking to her and telling her nothing and stuff. Because I said, how in the world do you cooperate with evil and with injustice and with somebody abusing and neglecting your son? Now, the white parents could raise hell. And I ain't got nothing against white people. I got white friends and stuff. I just gave a young white female. She's not the only one. I've done it probably to two other young white females that were standing on a corner wanting food, so they were homeless. I go buy them food, give them a gospel tract and stuff. Done it to white men and stuff. I went in a bookstore, and I believe this resident was MR. He had a Native African staff person with him, and this guy went and bought like all kind of DVDs, and but when he went up there, he was $2 short because he's right in front of me when he was checking out, and the girl told him, "You $2 short." So I said, "Oh, I'll just go ahead and pay for it." And she looked at me because she couldn't believe it because he's white and I'm black, you know. And I said, "Just give him his money back. I'm going to pay for the whole thing. I'm not going to just pay for the difference." And he never knew. And the staff members, "Oh, thank you, thank you." But the guy never knew, you know. He was kind of, you know, because he was developmentally disabled. He probably looked, he might have been autistic, but I think it was MR. But she put it in the bag and gave him his money back, and because that's a skill he probably was learning, and just put it, you know, gave it back to him, put his stuff in the bag, and handed it to him over the counter. Now he never said thank you because he didn't really understand what was going on, and I felt so good. I said that's the love of Jesus. I said not because I'm such a loving Mother Teresa, but it's because I'm a Christian and stuff. But I just hate racism. I hate injustice. You know, I hate prejudice. I hate anything, you know, that, and I've been saying that it was the book of James, but you actually find it in the first John, the book of First John, not the Gospel of John, but First John. You will find where God says, "How can you say you love me who you have not seen, and hate your brother who you have seen?" So that's not in the book of James. It's in First John, not the Gospel of John, but First John, and you will see that um, how God talks about um, you can't love Him because you ain't seen Him, and then hate your brother who you have seen. God said you just you can't love me if you're like that. But the book of James does talk about prejudice. It does talk about prejudice, but that particular scripture is in First John. So let me get to this, and like I said, at the end, Marquis has been triggered by the music, and I had to, and he's hollering, "I can't stand this music." I said, "Oh, you're doing fine. You, and you know." And he said, "Oh, I can't stand it. No, I can't stand it and stuff." So it took me that day. It took me about 20 to 30 minutes to calm him down and stuff. Because once they're triggered, you know, it's like you can't hardly, you know, uh, really stop that trigger. You could keep trying to de-escalate it and make sure it doesn't get violent. But you know, and it's an individual thing. But you have to really once they're triggered to make sure that it doesn't get where it can get violent and stuff. I said, because I'm ready for my son to yell and then to start banging on, you know, everything, or throwing things or something like that, or doing, you know, behavior where he can harm himself or, you know, others, or so he would yell. But they had, I said, well, gee, I was thinking, I said, now these idiots done trigger my son. But he would go through that a lot. The environment was too, they couldn't even put him over there in that day, I think it was called Day Habit stuff. And I already had played that tape and actually posted it because he said he couldn't. I think I already have. I got so many. It's just hundreds of them. Because he said he could stand it. It was too much noise. And then the visual thing. Remember, when you talk about sensory overload, you're talking about the five senses. He would go over there and see uh, residents would slobber. They wouldn't even wipe their mouths off. Because Marquis told me. He said, you know, it scared him. You know, seeing residents over there with slobber, they're drooling out of the corners of the mouth. You know, they were drooling. So, and then the noise, it was just too much for him. So anyway, that's what you're hearing this audio tape, and like I said, it's just snippets of it where you'll hear him actually say the words. Because that's what I said. You know, I'm gonna let in his own words, say what was happening to him. Nobody has to speak for Marquis. You know, I advocate for him and stuff, but if we really want to get down to the nitty gritty, Marquis can speak for himself. And this is just something, and he's probably still going through that, even though I just pray and know that God is with him. You know, because the Lord knows, you know, I miss him, I love him, I want to hear from my son, but Lord said, don't worry, because we're not to be anxious about anything. But God has to comfort me every day because I'm a victim in this thing too. I said, because it's not normal, natural for a loving mother. Because remember now, you know, I haven't neglected him or abused him like they have, and not hear from your own son. Don't hear anything about where he's at. You know, is he sick? Is he in another facility? Did he fall down the stairs and break his neck? Is he alive? You know, and God just had to say, you have to trust me. He said, but pray for your enemies. He said, because when I bust this thing open, I'm gonna bust it open. But I'm the captain of this situation, and if I'm gonna have it the way that I want to have it. And if it's time for him to come home, he will be coming home. If I want him coming home, he gonna come home. And I'll move anybody out of the way that I have to move people out of the way. Because God will cut people off. I've seen him trip them up. I've seen him put their lights out, tripped up their situation like he did with this Obamacare. They didn't clear it with God. Because a lot of people like to forget about God. But he has a will for our lives. People wonder why things don't happen like they. How in the world did that didn't happen and stuff? God stepped in and put a stop to it, or He said no. He closed the door on it, and He's got the power and authority to do that anytime He feels like it. So here we go with this, and I'll probably play it twice. It's a little bit clearer this time, but it's still on a micro cassette, so I apologize. Again, February 2013, you will hear clear audio tapes because that's when I believe I started, recording on my smartphone with a voice recorder. Again, this is February the 18th, 2012. When Marquis told me he was hungry, we were on the phone. Later on, I went to visit him that day, and you'll hear him tell me he was, well, on February the 12th, 2018, I talked to my son in the morning, and that's when he told me he was hungry, and I encouraged him to go ahead and eat your breakfast, and then I told him I loved him, and he told me he loved me back. So those two things are on the phone. When he told me he was hungry and that he loved me. And then later on that same day, February 12th, or February 18th, 2012, I went over there to visit my son, and that's when you'll hear him just, tell me he sucked, he was triggered by the music, and he was tired of missing me, and and that's what I mean. That's a perfect example. I walk in there, he's already triggered because they got the unit too loud, or they're hollering, or they done abused him and threw him down to the floor, or they're playing music and stuff. And I said, not only are these people wicked and corrupt, they're incompetent. I said, these people don't know nothing about autism. You can't do that to an autistic resident. But it was a setup to try to set me up. So he'll get on the phone and he'll be so upset. He'd get to yelling, Mom, they did this to me. They dragged me. They did, stuff like that. And they go, oh, she upset me on the phone and stuff. That's why I said, I'm not going to stand up for this flag. I said, because I just too old for that now. I just ain't going to do no pledge of allegiance. I said, because that's only for certain people in this country, period. I don't care who don't like it or whatever. Call me whatever you want and stuff. I said, but I'm a reality girl because I ain't living in a dream world, and I'm not denying the truth. So, but here we go with this, and I'll probably play it one more time. Because whenever Marquis is upset and stuff, his voice is, he raises his voice because he's, feeling so much pain and stuff. So here we go. So I'm gonna play this one more time, and again, so that's the only time he would get escalated when they have done something to him. He's hearing loud noises, and they would do that during our visits or at the beginning of the visit. When they did the fire drill thing, that was during our visit. All of a sudden, ooh, boo, boo, boo. I said, oh Lord, you know. And then when they did the boombox thing, that was at the beginning of our visit. I mean, I said this just the plain this is just plain wickedness. So I'm gonna play this one more time, and it should have been louder though. Here we go. So there you have it. Because I knew that my son needed to actually, and he needs me now because they're strangers. These people don't care anything about my son. Just like Sanford, she's the so-called limited guardian, and I call him fraudian. She don't care nothing about my son. She has no emotional attachment to her, or she has no emotional attachment to him. That's not her child. All she's doing, and I said the because that's to me like slavery. It's just like human trafficking. Because all you're doing is you are collecting whatever, how what $800 from the federal government on the behalf of another human being that you're letting other people abuse and neglect. And Marquis has been abused and neglected in a lot of ways. I mean, he's suffered from physical neglect, medical neglect and abuse, emotional neglect and abuse, physical abuse, you name it. And that's why I call her a witch. But anybody like her, to me, is just human garbage. I said, but they're actually, uh, they got these people that they call wards, and they're actually just collecting money off of them while the wards are suffering, abuse, and neglect. And Sanford knows all about this. She tried to act like she doesn't. I asked you to send me. Well, I don't send corrupt people emails. But I told her she knows about Facebook. I said, go on over there and have at it. Like the whole world. I said, it's out there for you to see too. And I said, it's really, really, probably a lot better. Because when I post my evidence, I also post a narrative with it. I'll put the date and post, the narrative and make a comment about it. I just don't, I explain what it was, what I seen, and when it happened, where I was at, like I'm doing with this. Because when I post this on the audio tape page, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post February the 18th, 2012, CDC phone call, CDC visit, and tell people exactly what they'll hear on this tape. And then I post the audio tape, the evidence. So it's really easy for her to see the abuse and the neglect that I was talking about. And that's why I tell people to always start from when I first started the page. Don't go to the most recent post. Go to from the very beginning when I started those pages. And you'll see all, especially the pictures and stuff. Because they said, well, we ain't going to let her see. Because that's why they don't want me to see him face to face and visit with him. because they know that I collect evidence. I take pictures. I said, that's my child. You better believe I'm going to take pictures of him. And they think, oh, well, we're the legal guardian now. We got legal authority and stuff. I said, that's my child. I said, because when you're doing anything to him, you're doing it to me. And I even told the witch, I said, well, I even explained to her that how this thing not only affects me indirectly, it affects me directly as his mother. And I said, when I bring those clothes over there, that's when he was at the facility, CDC, that he was abused in. When I bring those brand new sets of clothes over there, I want to see my son wearing them. I don't want to see him still wearing the facilities used ill-fitting, dirty clothes. And I said, it affects me directly too because I paid for it. I said, that's my money being stolen and wasted. It's stealing from my son, but it's also stealing from me. Because when I bring those clothes over there, I want them to go on Marquis. That's for Marquis. That's not for another resident or one of their abusive, corrupt staff members to take them home. And I could prove all of that because I collected evidence and made sure that I kept records of it. I said, when you have stopped and won't allow us to have visits because you have that little bit of legal authority, which is just corrupt as it can be, and when you don't allow us to have visits, you're not only stopping a wonderful son from seeing his mother, you're stopping a loving, supported, professional Christian mother from seeing her son. I got a big problem with that. I said, don't you tell me it ain't going to go on Facebook. It'll be on Facebook because that is not under her control. That's under God's control. Marquis really ain't under their control because God has an appointed time when he'll end things and say, enough is enough, done, over with. And God likes to smack these people around or either put out their light like he did David Blinken, but he likes to smack them around when they think they're all powerful, and the Donald Trumps and all of them that think their money can buy them anything. God will show them that they're not as powerful as they think they are, especially if it doesn't line up with what God's will is. But I left a message and told her that. I said, but I'm a victim in this thing too. I said, don't forget about me. I said, it's staying on there because God gonna do it for him. He gonna do it for me. I said, because as a mother, I said, I bet you wouldn't want to go in there and see your kid the way I've seen my son, or hear your son or daughter tell you they're being abused and beaten and dragged and all. And I know he ain't lying. I even seen one of their thugs hit him in the chest. I even had another resident tell me they seen Marquis abused. Marquis has even told me he's been abused. I said, so ain't nobody gonna able to tell me that it's all just my imagination or my son's. It happened, period. No debate. I said, but I don't want to hear that. I said, because I love my son just as much as you love your kids. So it stays on Facebook. And see, what's hurting them really all that bad because I'm presenting with evidence. They know they really can't send me a letter and say, cease and desist. You're slandering us. Not none of them. No how, no one, no way. And like I said, I almost feel like reversing this thing and starting from 2016. Because last time Marquis was allowed to call me was December 10th, 2016. And he been wanting to come home. They don't like me telling him that, yeah, he's going to come home. And I tell him that because I do believe he's going to come home. I don't know exactly when. But, sometimes I would tell him, I say, you come home in 2015, 2016, 2017. Whatever God, but I believe you're coming home. Excuse me. I got a little bit of cold here. But, I would tell him that because I believe it. But I also would tell him, I wouldn't tell him exact day. Because he would tell me, I want to be home by Thanksgiving and Christmas. I said, God might bring you home by, Christmas in 2015 or 2016 or 2017 I said, but only God knows that. I said, but I believe you. I don't believe my son is to live his life out like that in a sick system like that. But I do tell him that. I said, yeah, you know, that's in God's hands. He has the final say about your life and your destiny and my life and my destiny, not these people. Because God could just snap his finger and end it just like that. So they don't like me telling him that. I said, but we pray about it. I said, that's my Christian belief. I know God is in control. And he would tell me that all the time. So probably around December the 10th, 2016 was the last time I talked to him. And he probably said, I want to go home because, no holidays, no. I said, something ain't right about this. I said, he misses all his holidays, his birthdays, my birthday, I said, that, I love, I said, this is just pure wickedness. And he probably just said, yeah, I'm thinking about how Marquis probably done told him, yeah, I want to go home. And he probably had a meltdown over it. I want to be with my mom. Because I told him about, all the stuff I got waiting for him and stuff. But Lord said, keep on buying this stuff. He'll be able to see it. Because I still buy him gifts. Like I'm going to buy him, even though he got tons of stuff here waiting for him and stuff, he'll be 24 next month. He gets some more birthday gifts, but I bought him graduation gifts. He's got the Easter, his birthday, Jesus Mas, which is Christmas. We call it Jesus Mas. He's got Valentine's gifts in there. I love you gifts. I got gifts for you because I love you and stuff. You know, and he probably wants to get back into his home, his hobby. He wants to be back with his mother. He wants to. Jesus got to reverse his health. His health is all messed up. They got him on Thorazine and lithium, and he ain't no schizophrenic or mentally ill. And now he has to go to a dermatologist every Tuesday or Thursday. Anyway, he goes and get his skin light treatment to his skin every Tuesday and Thursday. That wasn't happening when he was at home with me. God's got to clean up all the mess this human scum done. But anyway, there you have it. I don't want to go over 60 minutes because then this won't upload. But I'm going to post this on the audio tape page. And you can start from the very beginning on that page too, but definitely do it for the justice page and abuse and neglect page. And Jesus is Lord. Marquis, wherever you are, I love you. Jesus loves you. And his will be done. They can make all the plans they want for your life. But the book of Proverbs says God's will be done. Man can make all the plans they want, but God's will be done. And I know Jesus has got his loving arms around you, and he's got an end date for your suffering to end. And then he can use you mightily in the way that he wants to use you. And I'm proud of you. I love you. I miss you so much. I think about you every single day and missing you. And I'm looking forward to Jesus bringing you back home and letting me be able to spend the wonderful time that I miss so much with you. Hang on in there, sweetie. I love you. And Jesus is Lord.